So last week I was flying from San Francisco to Phoenix, and I was wearing one of those sweatshirts that has a saying on it, and I was getting on the plane. This woman stopped me and she was like, "I love your shirt." And I said, "Thank you." And then her husband was like, "Where'd you get it?" And I got to tell them this story about witnessing the Watoto Children's Choir at the Grove Church where I go. And honestly, if you've never seen them before, you're really missing out. Watoto means children's. They are a choir. And what's really interesting about all of these kids is that every one of them is an orphan because of the situation in Malawi. And I'm sure they've got their battles just like everybody else. But what you witness during one of their concert sessions is like nothing short of pure joy. The kids are like, they're so filled up, they're overflowing with it. And it's just incredible. A few minutes later, I was in my seat, emergency row, for extra leg room. And as I'm sitting down, another woman walks by and she's like, "I love your sweatshirt." And I wish that I had a box of these things because I could have made out like gangbusters. As we ascended into the air, I see a woman to my left and she's watching news on her laptop and none of it's good. It's your stereotypical bass session. I just sat there and I thought, man, I wonder how people feel after they watch news channels like that, because I am completely disengaged from the news cycle. I follow a couple of sites, so I feel like I get the big stories, but this 24-hour news cycle is just so fatiguing. And so maybe you watch some of these news shows, and I want to ask you, how do you feel after you watch them? Do you feel informed? Do you feel like it's all going to hell in a handbag? Do you feel anger? Do you feel rage? Does it make you happy? Do you feel hope? And the reason I ask that is because, there's this song by Elevation Worship, and maybe you've heard it before. It opens up like this. It says, "I don't believe in fairy tales. I guess I've outgrown them. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe that there's something bigger than me." And then it goes on to say, "He will renew your strength." And that is what I want to talk about today, along with that other four-letter word I mentioned a few minutes ago, hope. You see, because hope takes strength. And it takes a lot of strength sometimes, doesn't it? In the Bible, the book of Job is filled with hope. In Job 6:11, it says, "What is my strength that I should hope?" So for those of you who have lost hope, I think the question that I have for you is, what can we do to get some of that back? Psalm 31:24 says, "Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in his mercy." And so you can see that it takes courage, it takes strength to have hope. Let's get back to that plane ride for just a second. We got about halfway to Phoenix and the plane started to shake. And I mean, it was like a really rough ride. They made us, put our drinks back and we had to pack up the tray tables. And, the flight attendants were all asked to sit down early. And as I looked around the plane, I could sense that some of the people were not exactly very secure with what was happening. In fact, the woman next to us was white knuckling her armrest. And I wish that I could have told her something that I heard once upon a time from a pilot about turbulence. But I didn't want to be the weird guy that asked her to take her headphones off just so I could say something to her. But I'll tell you, he said, turbulence in the sky is like hitting a pothole or riding on a rough road. Yeah, it's bumpy, but we're not going to fall through the road. We're not going to just drop to the ground because we have a little bit of turbulence. I feel like that information would have given her some hope. Hope that everything was going to be okay. It would have given her something to hold on to and not just that armrest that she was suffocating with her death grip. There's another song that I love by Cochran and Company called "Money Can't Buy." And there's this one line that I love. The lyric goes, "Oh Lord, give me eyes to see that what I need don't cost a thing. You fill my life with money something can't buy." Hope, it doesn't cost you a thing. But the world needs it now more than ever. And today I want to challenge you to be the hope that somebody else needs to see. I mean, I am filled with hope. I don't waver in my hope. And I know that I live in a world with people who, at least they operate like they have no hope. But loads of people do have hope. So what makes them special? Well, I think for me, it's because I know that I've endured things and I'm still here. I watched both my parents die. I watched my best friend of 30 years battle cancer and eventually die. But still, I have hope. I've been so broke and in debt, and then I've had enough money in the bank to do whatever I want. I've been so in love with my wife and been so mad at her I could spit. I've been so proud of my kids, and well, you know the rest if you have kids. I have hope because I know things will get better, easier. How's that song go? Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. And don't you wish that we could just go to Target and pick up some hope, right there in the health and beauty aisle next to the vitamins? But that, my friend, is not how it works. You have to dig deep for hope sometimes. And I found that personally, when I'm not spiritually connected to God or something bigger than myself, it's easier for me to lose hope. It seems impossible to find. It's like going to TJ Maxx or Marshall's and looking for something specific. You're not going to find it. When I feel connected, I feel strong. I feel hope. And I'll bet the same would be true for you. So maybe you just drifted from something bigger than yourself, God or not. But if you're drifted, it's going to be harder to find strength and hope. And so tonight, I'd like you to pray or meditate on two thoughts. The first one is, what would my life look like if I was a little stronger? And the second one is, what would my life look like if I had more hope? Would you smile more? Would you be a little gentler with your kids? Would you be nicer to drive with? What would your marriage look like with more hope? What would your career look like with more hope? How would you feel in your body with more hope? It's this great song by Seth Schleter, and he sings, "You make beautiful endings to every story. You turn it to glory, and I turn it to praise." And today, I'm asking you to trust that he will make a beautiful ending to your story so you can turn it to glory. And I know that in my heart, when we do that, like when we surrender to letting God take over our ending, we have the freedom to just live our lives. Something I'm working a lot on right now. Just to live, to smile more, to be the hope in the world that I want to see. That sweatshirt, by the way, that everybody was commenting on had 3 simple words in huge letters across the top, and it simply read, "There is hope." And there is. In me, in each one of you right now. Probably just going to take a little strength to find it.